Imagine this. It's the middle of the night inside a Roman military camp. Thousands of soldiers are asleep. The only sound is the wind and footsteps in the dark. A lone soldier stands on guard duty. His eyes feel heavy. Just for a second, he closes them. That 1 second is all it takes. Because in ancient Rome, falling asleep on guard duty wasn't a mistake. It was a death sentence. And sometimes, the punishment didn't come from the enemy. It came from your own army. The Roman Empire was built on power. But it survived on something even stronger: fear and discipline. Every soldier knew one rule: never fail your duty. Especially at night. Because while the world sleeps, war doesn't. But what really happened if a Roman soldier was caught sleeping on guard duty? The answer reveals one of the most brutal sides of ancient Rome: the machine of discipline. The Roman army wasn't just a fighting force. It was a machine. Every movement was controlled. Every action had purpose. Millions of soldiers were spread across continents. Yet they followed the same strict system: when to march, when to eat, when to fight, and most importantly, when to stand guard. Because a sleeping soldier wasn't just careless. He was dangerous. One moment of weakness could destroy an entire camp. Enemies could slip inside. Commanders could be killed in their sleep. Entire legions could disappear before sunrise. So Rome believed one thing: discipline was more important than mercy. The night watch of terror. Roman camps were built like fortresses. Every night, soldiers were assigned guard posts. At gates. On walls. Around supplies. Near commanders. The night was divided into shifts. And each soldier was responsible for his turn. But there was no comfort. No rest. No excuses. Only darkness. Cold wind. And silence that felt endless. Imagine standing completely alone. 4 hours. Knowing that if you fail, you don't just die. You disappoint Rome. And Rome never forgave failure. The moment of weakness. Sleep was the enemy. Not outside the camp, but inside the soldier's body. Many soldiers had marched for days, fought battles, carried heavy armor, and still had to stand guard at night. Exhaustion was constant. But falling asleep wasn't accepted as human weakness. It was treated as betrayal. Because Rome believed, if you sleep while guarding Rome, you are helping its enemies. What happened if you were caught? If a Roman soldier was caught sleeping on duty, there was no warning system like today. No second chance. Punishment depended on the commander. But it could be brutal. In many cases, it meant death. Not from enemies, but from your own comrades. Sometimes soldiers were forced to carry out the punishment themselves. The message was clear: one man's failure is everyone's danger. And everyone must remember it. The fear that controlled an empire. Fear was not accidental in the Roman army. It was a tool. Because fear creates obedience. And obedience creates order. Soldiers didn't stay awake because they were strong. They stayed awake because they were terrified of consequences. Rome didn't rely on motivation. It relied on discipline enforced by fear. And it worked. The Roman Empire lasted for centuries, spanning continents. Because soldiers feared one thing more than death in battle: failure in duty. The human reality. But behind the armor, there were still humans. Exhausted men. Far from home. Standing in freezing nights. Or burning deserts. Many didn't fall asleep out of laziness. They fell asleep because they were broken by exhaustion. But Rome didn't make that distinction easily. Because the empire believed. Emotion cannot protect an empire. Only discipline can. So the next time you think about ancient Rome, don't just imagine armies, emperors, and victories. Think about the silent soldier standing in the dark, fighting not an enemy, but his own exhaustion. Because in ancient Rome, sleeping on guard duty wasn't just dangerous. It was a mistake you might never wake up from. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more untold history. And tell me, backhand index pointing right, was Rome's discipline necessary for survival, or too brutal for humanity?